5 passengers lost their lives after this pilot let his children in the cockpit. On March 23rd, 1994, an Aeroflot aircraft was flying from Russia to Hong Kong when the airplane tragically crashed. Only a few hours into the flight, one of the pilots allowed his 2 children who were also on the flight to enter the cockpit so that they can see how everything operates and play around with the aircraft's controls. Of course, autopilot was on, so this was not supposed to be dangerous. Well, at least that's what he thought.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry. I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook. Anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 32. Running an underground toddler fight club. The women instructed at least 6 children to have full-on fistfights. The most isolated place on the planet is a little dot in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo. It's the furthest spot from any kind of land, and the closest civilization is 1,000 miles away. In 2019, filmmakers hired 3 young-looking actresses to pose as 12-year-old girls for a documentary about online predators. Over the next 10 days, they received a combined 2,458 messages from sexual predators. Sarcasm is actually illegal in North Korea. In 2007, a woman died after drinking a little over a gallon of water in 3 hours. And she did it in order to win a Wii.
This pregnant woman was murdered and cut open by her friend. On October 9th, 2020, 29-year-old Taylor Parker was pulled over for speeding as she made her way home in Texas. Police noticed that there was a newborn baby in the passenger seat of her car, and when asked, Taylor said that she had just given birth. The officer quickly responded and got Taylor and the newborn baby medical attention, but when Taylor arrived to the hospital, she refused to get checked and the baby was pronounced dead. Not long after, police were called to 21-year-old Regan Hancock's home, where she was face down and deceased. Regan's mother actually found her with her skull crushed, she was stabbed 100 times, and the most disturbing part was that her stomach was cut open and her baby was gone. After investigating, police arrested Taylor Parker for this heinous crime. Investigators later realized that Taylor and Regan were friends, and Taylor was very involved in Regan's pregnancy, even to the point that she photographed her maternity shoot. Taylor also faked her pregnancy for 9 months. She threw a gender reveal for her fake baby. She faked her due date, and she found out when Regan's due date was, and she made sure to murder her on that same day. It's been said that her motive was to save her relationship with her boyfriend by having a child, and since she couldn't have any more kids, she murdered her friend and tried to take her baby and pretend like it's hers. Taylor was sentenced to death and is now at the state prison in Gatesville, Texas.
A farmer's pig gave birth to this human baby, but when doctors scan its DNA, they immediately call the police. On a small farm located deep in the Cambodian forest.
10 quick fire facts you didn't know that could save your life one day. So sit down, shut up, and listen. Trust me, favorite this video so you can come back to it at any point if you need it. When a dog wags its tail, it doesn't always mean that it's being friendly. It can actually mean the opposite. Never mix bleach and ammonia because this can make a poisonous gas. If you're ever sinking in quicksand, lie down face up. This will disperse your weight, stopping you from sinking. If you're in a crowded space, make a mental note of all the exits. If a service dog ever comes up to you without its owner, follow them immediately. You could save someone's life. If you're about to get run over by a vehicle, jump and try and swoop yourself up onto the hood rather than fall into the ground. If your airplane crashes into water, do not inflate your life jacket until you are outside of the plane, because if the plane starts to fill up with water, you'll get trapped inside and won't be able to get out. When you're booking a ticket for a flight, book a middle seat in the back of the plane. If an alligator grabs you, good luck! No, I'm kidding. Shove your fingers in its nose. This breaks its airway seal, allowing water to flush in, and it has to let you go. Now send this to literally anyone, because you can save their life one day. Yo, Elon!
Those are some interesting facts, man. Especially about freaking shoving fingers in the alligator's nose. Would that really work? Where he at?
This man abused and murdered a 9-month-old baby so badly that America went out of their way to sign a petition so the government can publicly hang him. If you are easily triggered by really gruesome crimes, especially with children, then please take this as your warning. This is a super disturbing case. And get a number on me, and I typically always listen to crime videos. Back in 2016, 33-year-old Benjamin Taylor, remember that name, moved in with his girlfriend Amanda Atkins to West Virginia. Now, Amanda had recently had a baby. Her name was Emily. She was a very happy, lovable baby. She was only 9 months old at the time. Within 1 month of moving in with this man, oh my God, I can't just listen. So it's around 4 a.m. and Amanda had woken up to, probably the bathroom, check on her baby. So when she goes to the crib to check on Emily, she looks aside and Emily is not in her crib. She is a 9-month-old baby. She is not just gonna up and walk off. Amanda's mommy instincts kicked in like this. She knew that Benjamin was just gonna come and take her baby. He had just moved in. So she's running around the house looking everywhere for Emily. Now, she ends up in the basement. When Amanda took that last step going down towards the basement, all she saw was Benjamin.
75 passengers lost their lives after this pilot let his children in the cockpit. On March 23rd, 1994, an Aeroflot aircraft was flying from Russia to Hong Kong when the airplane tragically crashed. Only a few hours into the flight, one of the pilots allowed his 2 children who were also on the flight to enter the cockpit so that they can see how everything operated. The pilot's 16-year-old son Elder and his 12-year-old daughter Yana had the opportunity to sit in the pilot's seat and play around with the aircraft's controls. Of course, autopilot was on, so this was not supposed to be dangerous. Well, at least that's what he thought. The pilot told his son Elder that he can turn the plane to one side so he can experience what it was to fly a plane. Unfortunately, this disabled autopilot. The pilots were unaware that the plane began turning, but once they noticed, the plane had steepened to almost 90 degrees. The plane started to quickly descend while the pilots tried to figure out what was wrong. And there's actually an audio recording of how everything played out, and you can hear the fear in these pilots' voices. The plane ended up crashing on a mountain in Russia, killing all 75 passengers on board. After investigating, they said that the cause of the crash were the children who were playing with the controls in the aircraft. And it was said that if the pilots had left the controls alone rather than trying to fix them manually, the plane would have corrected itself.
People are saying you're...
That's why you don't let kids into the cockpit of the airplane, man. That was tragic.
Favorite celebrities are hanging out with a witch. As you can see, this woman is pretty friendly with a lot of celebrities. A$AP Rocky, Kim Kardashian, Kanye, even the Migos. But why are they so deeply connected with this woman? Her name is Michelle Lemmy, and it says she's a fashion designer, film producer, etc. But she's also married to Rick Owens, who is known as the Dark Lord of fashion. Look, here she is even wearing his head as a purse. Oh, and she's very close to Marina Abramovich, whose art is a little demonic. I mean, she once threw a party with a human-shaped cake. I kid you not. Look at this. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this just a connection for fashion, or is there something more darker going on? And make sure you guys hit that follow button, because my next video will blow your mind.
How rare is your body compared to the rest of the world? Favorite and comment on this video if you have any of these. First up, only 4% of people have Raynaud's syndrome. This is when part of your body, typically your fingers and toes, start to turn white when they're exposed to low temperatures. Only 16% of people can make a roaring sound in their head using their jaw. Now you can do this because you can control a small muscle in your jaw. Only 35% of people globally have 20/20 vision. That means 2/3 of the population cannot see perfectly. 10% of people are left-handed. As well, studies show these people typically live shorter lives. Only 5% of people globally have tongues that are tied. This is when your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth and typically will impact speech and eating. And probably the wildest one of all, only 11% of people in the world have brown hair.
Really?
And what you're looking at here is the greatest gift the Hmong people have given us, other than Sunni Lee. This is the Hmong dog, or the Hmong bobtail dog, or as I call him, the meow wolf. Because if the question is cat or dog and you can't commit, a puppy cat might be in your future. The pride of the Hmong people of Southeast Asia was forged in the mountains of Vietnam, likely while the Hmong pieced out of China for reasons. Some say this dog was a result of Chinese bobtails getting nasty with Vietnam jackals, and the resulting Mung dog was used for hunting and guarding. Now you might ask what this cat dog could possibly guard you from other than low dopamine. Well, they're a lot tougher than you think, and they've been used by Vietnamese police as sniffing dogs, so if you try to bring some BS into their borders, you will have to see a professional snitch about it. Another thing is that their hunting history means they do not rock with cats, and yeah, that just sounds like a dog thing, but their prey drive means a cat can breathe and a Mung pup will take it personally. It'll go from cat to casualty real fast, and for a dog that looks feline in the face, that's probably why they're on site. They clock the fake, and one thing they don't tolerate is an imposter among us. But obviously, if you socialize them and know what you're getting into, they can be a great addition to your house. You might even get a Zui. Zui is a Mung dog that went viral for... well, I mean, how could this raccoon corgi not? Also, correct me if I'm wrong, I just might be, but apparently his name means raccoon. God bless this benevolent loaf of bread, and shout out to the Mung people for baking him, the more you know.
You look like the Doge dog, bro. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Looks exactly like it. Out in the middle of the night taking pictures.
Listen to this crazy history that you didn't learn in school. A serial killer in New Orleans stated that he would kill again, but would spare the occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. On that night, all the clubs reached capacity. Amateur bands played jazz music at hundreds of different house parties, and there were no murders. I think this guy was probably a big fan of jazz and just knew what he was doing to get more of it, I guess. From the year 1264 to 1827, anyone who received a Master of Arts degree from Oxford had to swear that they would never forgive Henry Simonis. But by 1608, no one knew who he was or what he had done. Before his acting career, Christopher Walken worked as a lion tamer in a circus at the age of 16 years old. He later said that he took that job because it was just too unique to pass up. The most significant temperature change in 24 hours happened in Loma, Montana in 1972, when the temperature rose by 103 degrees from negative 54 Fahrenheit to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a 1950s ad for new homes with a pool costing $9,800. So when you adjust that for inflation, it would only be about $118,000 today.
Urban legends caught on camera.
One leg doing that?
Things humans were never meant to see. Okay, first, this is how much pollen is actually in a tree. I can feel a sneeze coming on just watching that video. Bet you didn't know that beluga whales actually has knees. I'm pretty sure this is how the myth of the mermaid started. Don't quote me on that. Okay, we've all seen an alligator outside of the water, right? Well, this is what it looks like under the water. Who would have known? But honestly, it makes it seem a little less unscary. Okay, now everyone remembers the Teletubbies, right? And no, not your ugly neighbor next door. Not her. Well, this is what it looks like without having their heads on. Finally, this is how an octopus walks on land. This is genuinely horrifying. Never show me that again. Things that only exist in Japan. First, these are square watermelons. They're expensive and shaped by special equipment on farms. There's plenty of unique Kit Kat flavors in Japan. From chili, wasabi, roasted corn, sweet potato, soy, watermelon, and a bunch more. Buildings will often have parking for umbrellas. You know, just like they do for bikes. Traffic lights will actually turn blue instead of green. There's a restaurant chain for canned food, and some places just won't have the number 4. I don't know why. Like buildings will skip the 4th floor and just go straight to 5. Or items just won't be sold in packs of 4. They actually have really cool high-tech toilets. Some functions include playing music and warm water, and also heated seats. I need that. Automatic doors are a common feature in cabs. Oh, and also capsule hotels. They're just rooms that just have a bed and TV. Would you stay there?
His life was taken after accidentally entering the wrong home. On August 26th of this year, just before 2 a.m., officers were sent to a home on South Holly Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Those officers were called for a suspected home burglary. As officers were responding, the emergency call was then upgraded to a shots fired call. The officers found a victim on the front porch deceased with a gunshot wound to his upper body. The victim was identified as 20-year-old Nicholas Anthony Donofrio. Nicholas actually lived on the same street where the shooting happened, and he just accidentally entered the wrong home when he was shot. The police said that the shooter was a man who lived at the home, but they were not going to release his name since he was not going to be charged in this case. Nicholas had graduated high school in 2021 in Madison, Connecticut. The shooting came in less than 72 hours after the university's fall semester classes had just begun.
These two insane parents held their 13 kids captive for years. David and Louise Turpin lived with their 13 kids in the Texas suburbs. They registered their house as a school so they could teach their kids from home, but other than that, they seemed like a normal family from the outside. The kids were seen playing in their front yard all and even played with the neighbors from across the street. But the neighbors began noticing some strange behaviors, like the kids marching in a circle at night and digging through the neighbor's trash. One night, the neighbor found the Turpin's oldest daughter running down the street frantically as if she was trying to escape something. So the neighbors picked her up and drove her back to her house, assuming she was mentally unstable due to her weird behavior and her dirty appearance. After that, the parents decided to move to this house in Oceanside, California. But only a week later, police received a phone call from a 17-year-old saying she had just escaped her house and that her siblings were still being held captive. Within minutes, police arrived at the house, but you won't believe what they found inside.
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the scariest ghost stories ever. Just last month, a man died after claiming that a ghost was trying to kill him. The man was a Russian tourist staying in Thailand, and he reportedly fell to his death from the 9th floor of a condo. According to reports, he had approached a security guard on May 22nd, and what he told them was terrifying. He told them that he was being hunted by a murderous ghost with bulging eyes. After running all over the building, he ended up falling to his death from the 9th floor window. The guard later stated that the man was completely out of it. He kept saying that the ghost with bulging eyes was chasing him and trying to kill him. The guard said that he was terrified and running up and down the building like a madman. Another resident of the building claimed to have heard his screams just before the fall. They said that he was yelling in an awful voice, and that it was like something out of a horror film. The witness said that until the incident, the Russian tourist seemed completely normal. The police said that they found no evidence of an altercation or break-in, and
somebody in this damn room.
Iron Eyes Yeast presents Light Out. Everybody.
SeaWorld just got caught hiding a real mermaid. If you didn't know, there was rumors that SeaWorld was hiding a lab underground that had mermaids and an actual megalodon. And someone found something terrifying. So this man, David Seinfeld, decided to go sneaking around SeaWorld and see if he could actually find anything under the orca show tank, where the employees' area is. So that's where he looked. 30 minutes after looking in the area, he found a door that said employees only. When walking through it, he only came across a hallway. You know, the ones with the huge tanks over your head and the sharks and stingrays swim over? Nothing out of the ordinary, right? But then he got to a metal door. The sign said classified, no employees allowed. So of course he decides to go through it. He claims that there was a huge lab with 2 mermaids in it, swimming in what looked like a giant indoor tank. Now it didn't look like a normal mermaid. It had blubbery skin almost like a dolphin, webbed fingers, and these gill-like holes in its neck. And of course he took pictures and videos of it. If you want to see the footage, you can't, because this is just one big creepypasta. Send this to a friend if you want to prank them.
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop thinking about? I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Corilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Corilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about 1/8 of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. John Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
Welcome back to Female Murderer TikTok. This one's about Nanny Doss. Buckle up. Nanny and her husband had 4 kids. 2 of them died back-to-back from poisonings. The husband was like, something ain't right, and then he took the kids and left. So Nanny gets remarried, kills him, buys a house and land with the insurance money, and is like, oh, I like this. She reunites with her daughter. Her daughter's like, hey, can you watch my baby for a little bit? And she's like, totally. And then the baby dies in like 3 days. And then it starts to get lethal. She marries her 3rd husband. He dies that year. Her mom breaks her hip and she's like, I'll take care of you. She's dead. Both of her sisters die in the same year in different towns, all while Nanny's visiting. She marries her 4th husband. He doesn't even make it a few months. Then she marries her 5th husband. He dies a month later. But finally, in that autopsy, they were like, there's a lot of rat poison in this guy. Did you do this? And then Nanny goes, yeah, I did that to all of them. So she gets life in prison, and before she dies, they interview her, and they're like, why did you do it? Was it for the money? And she goes, money? I was bored.
That is a different type of being, man. She said just because she was bored, she caused all that destruction. Mind blowing. And the hotel bathroom again, man. Gotta be careful.
They built a guillotine in their shrine. On April 15th of 2023, the Makwana family stood outside a small shack in their village in India. Heimu and Hansa brought their children ages 12 and 13 to have a sleepover with their uncle and cousins. The children rushed inside to greet their relatives, and Heimu and Hansa reminded them to be good, and everyone just seemed happy. The uncle reassured the parents that the children would be fine and they would have a great night. They thanked him, turned around, and walked hand in hand down the dirt road that would lead them home. As they were walking hand in hand, they were feeling grateful for the family that they had, and Hansa was wearing a deep red dress while Heimu was wearing a white button-down shirt, something that they wouldn't wear very often. Their home was described as a simple brick and concrete structure, but instead of going inside, they went towards the back of their home where a handmade tent was. And this tent wasn't a shelter, it was a sacred ground. Inside of that tent, they had a personal shrine to the Hindu god Shiva, Lord of Destruction and Rebirth. This space was for prayers and offerings. But over the past couple of days, the couple had been constructing something new inside. It resembled a door frame without a door, and it had a long white rope. No one knew this yet, but it was a guillotine. Later that night, the couple went inside of that tent and decided to work quickly. They built a fire in the center of the shrine and scattered orange flower petals around Shiva. Next, Hamu took a pen and started to write a letter, and him and his wife put their thumbprints at the bottom as a signature. They folded the note and placed it carefully between the Shiva image and statue. Together, they knelt by the guillotine and recited a prayer. The parents weren't struggling, they weren't in debt, they were a happy family with their children, so they couldn't figure out why they would want to do this. Police started to believe that this may have been an act of black magic. There are no charges to file, no suspects to pursue, just two children remembering their parents the last time they saw them, happy, loving, and in their finest clothes.
Every single holiday that we celebrate is celebrating one of the 7 deadly sins. Valentine's Day represents lust. Thanksgiving, that celebrates the sin of
gluttony. Yeah, because you're
eating a lot. You're overeating. Christmas, what do you think that is?
Christmas. Greed?
Greed.
Yeah.
Overconsumption and excess. Celebrating gifts. We're not really even celebrating like the birth of Christ because people are so focused on the gifts and shit. The holiday of Easter, what sin would it be?
Easter.
Say it's envy because the Romans were jealous of Jesus, so they murdered him.
Oh,
it's crazy. St. Patrick's Day, it's sloth because people get blacked out drunk.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah. Now Halloween is what? It's wrath.
Okay.
So scaring and hurting people for fun. With masks, it's wrath.
Oh.
The sin of pride.
Okay, what's that?
Nah, we're not even gonna say that.
7 deadly sins represent the holidays.
There's a really famous mystery called the Diatloav Pass. It's about these 9 really experienced hikers in the 50s. They set off on this journey and they reached the first checkpoint, but they didn't make it to the second checkpoint. And there was a big search that goes out to make sure they're okay. The army gets involved and they go and follow the route to find the hikers. And they come across these prints in the snow that led down the mountain. And some of the prints were bare feet, some had 1 shoe and 1 barefoot. And it's all 9 of the hikers, and they find 3 of the hikers, and they're all deceased, and there's one who's naked, there's one who's up in one of the trees, and there's these deep gouges on the tree as if some animal had been scratching at this tree. There's more footprints that lead away from those 3, and the footprints lead where the other 6 hikers were, and they're all deceased as well. And the women were wearing men's clothing and vice versa. Some of their clothes had trace levels of radiation, and some of them had parts of their face removed, it looked like. Lips, nose, ears, it almost looked like surgical precision removal. There was a person in there who their chest had basically been caved in, but there's no sign of anything that could have done this damage. And suddenly the Soviet government says, we're going to shut this investigation down. All we know is that the 9 hikers who died from an unknown, unnatural force. Sealed.
Cult ran in secrecy by a yoga teacher who believed she was the reincarnation of Jesus, fed LSD to children, and wanted to create the master race. Buckle up because this one is quite the story. Born in 1921, Anne Hamilton Byrne grew up outside of Melbourne, Australia. When she was young, her mother died in a mental hospital, and her father wasn't too keen on being a single parent, so she bounced around to different orphanages. Later in life, she had a child and lost her husband in a tragic car accident. That is when she took up yoga and began teaching it in the city. In the 60s is when mysticism and Eastern religion began to make their way west, and a lot of people were very interested in it. During one of her yoga lessons, she met physicist Dr. Raynor Johnson. He referred to Anne as the wisest, serenest, most gentle, gracious soul he had ever met. Together, they began using LSD and started to recruit members into the cult, which was known as the Family. They used Johnson's property right outside of the city of Melbourne as their headquarters where they held weekly meetings. They spread a mishmash of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. Another large outlet for new recruits was the New Haven Hospital, which was mostly ran by members of the family. Many of the patients at the New Haven Hospital they treated with LSD. She easily became a multi-millionaire funded by the cult members. She got everything she wanted from the cult members: homes, cars, money, and eventually even children. When the 1970s rolled around, 28 children became members of the family. Some were offsprings of members, others were falsely adopted, and some even stolen. With such powerful people working for the family, such as doctors and attorneys, anything was possible for them to acquire. all of the children were told that Anne was their biological mother. Their identities were completely changed and they were given fake birth certificates. She dyed all of their hair blonde, changed all of their last names to Hamilton Byrne, all to convince them that they were related. She kept the charade going by wearing homemade smocks to fake her pregnancies and told the members of the family that they would survive the end of the world and become the new master race. Anne, along with her husband Bill, were the unquestioned leaders of the cult. Beatings were commonplace to children who stepped out of line, and they were given daily doses of Valium to keep them docile. This continued on until they reached the age of 14. That is when a bizarre initiation ritual was done. They would be given an insanely large dose of LSD and locked in a room alone. They would only be seldomly visited by Anne or one of the cult psychiatrists. As you can imagine, this had long-lasting impacts on all the children and cult members. When screaming would be heard by neighbors and police were summoned to the property, the children were instructed to hide and cram into this tiny hole. Her only rule was do everything she says. The family's motto was unseen, unknown, unheard, and they had little contact to the outside world. It wasn't until 1987 when a 14-year-old girl named Sarah Moore was expelled from the group for not behaving and went right to police. Police raided their headquarters on August 14th, and all the children were placed in protective custody. As for Anne and Bill, they fled the country. For 4.5 years, they hid in upstate New York before finally being extradited back to Australia. Despite a massive investigation, raids on the property, they spent little to no time in jail. In the end, they only had to pay 3 $5,000 fines for falsifying 3 of the birth certificates. Like, that is it. After destroying so many lives, that is it.
Really?
Unfortunately, on this one, no justice was served, and Anne spent her last years suffering from dementia in a Melbourne nursing home. She died at the age of 98 in 2019.
Perplexing. That's crazy, Seekers, man. They did all that, and all they had to pay was a $5,000 fine. 3 $5,000 fines. Really? There was no justice in that case, just like you said. Man. That's a hair turner.
Part 1. In 2008, an Australian couple named Julian and Carolyn were kidnapped by a satanic cult. Members of the cult threw them in a van and drove them deep into the forest where they were stripped, blindfolded, tied up, and abandoned. Convinced that they would die, Julian suggested that the couple get married under the eyes of God and consummate their relationship. After a week of wandering through the woods, the couple finally made it back to their hometown. Julian was immediately arrested and found guilty of staging the entire thing. These animals thought they were dead.
That's different, man.
In 2015, Goliath, a young cow rescued from a dairy farm, surprised everyone. After being nursed back to health with bottle feeding, he formed an unlikely bond with a sibling, a Great Dane. Shockingly, Goliath began mimicking dog-like behavior. He attempted to nurse with the Great Dane, lounging on the family's couch and even tasting dog food. And in 2016, Hannah Simpson from New Zealand, unable to afford a horse, chose to treat a cow from her family's farm as one. Lilac was trained to act like a horse. Impressively, Lilac could even clear a 5-foot jump, but only when in the mood. And in 2019, Pusha, a cat, became an unexpected mother to 4 orphaned squirrels. With a bit of human help, the squirrels began to warm to Pusha, and this interspecies family melted heart when Pusha started to care for the squirrels as her own. And in 2016, Nano, a woman, firmly believed she was a cat trapped inside a human's body. Her story was shared on a Norwegian YouTube channel, where she showcased her cat-like behaviors and tendencies.
Let me just ask
Human
you,
cat?
can you tell that there is something wrong with the picture that I'm going to show you? This one is really interesting. So the information I could find on the photo is that we think it was taken by a realtor. He had gone alone to basically inspect a home that was foreclosed on that he was about to put on the market. The bottom of this photo is that if you look at it really closely, you're like, the photo is kind of blurred, like it was taken in motion, because in the background there is something very wrong. Quickly before we get into it, thank you so much for all of the support for my podcast, Creep Time the Podcast. You don't even know how to process being top 10 in the country. That is incredible. If you have not listened, go click the link in my bio. Seen in the background of that photo, it was very clear that he was not alone in that basement. Although he claimed he didn't see anything, he just got a strange feeling, so he kind of took the photo and then rushed out of the room. But this person was confirmed to not be the homeowner. So who was hiding out in that basement?
Smart. He felt a different presence and he left. Trust your gut. Sometimes, man, your gut and knows the right thing, man. If you have a gut feeling, listen to it. It can save your life.
Are your toys alive?
What did I just walk into?
Toy Stories confirmed.
Would you have a robot made?
Nah, I don't trust it.
Jesus Christ. Gotta be careful here.
Hmm? She baiting it?
Well, that puts an end to my tarpon fishing. Wow.
He getting closer.
Get back.
He's a menace, man. Hit the jets. Where is
Here's
it?
some websites that are insanely useful and you need to know about. TheTrueSize.com. This website essentially shows you the true size of every country. Right here, it looks like Canada is double the size of the US, right? But that's just like, just not true. Next we have archive.org.
Okay.
It's essentially a giant archive of free books, movies, like there's everything is mostly on here. 1AAuto.com. This one essentially gives you all of the information for your car that you will ever need. All you gotta do is put the year, make, and model of your car. Then it'll give you every spare part compatible with your car. But not only does it give you the correct parts to buy, it also gives you videos on how to replace everything. Next, we have Copycat.com. This website will essentially give you all of the food recipes for every item that you love. So like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, they got it. Once you're at this page, you're gonna click on search for recipe. We'll type in Chick-fil-A, and it gives you a step-by-step recipe on how to make the nuggets yourself. GG.deals. This website essentially shows you the best deals that you can get on games right now.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 241.
Interesting
In
sights.
1968, radical feminist Valerie Solanas entered the office of famous artist Andy Warhol carrying 2 guns. When she entered, she proceeded to shoot Andy Warhol along with London art gallery owner Mario Amaya and then left the building. 2 of her bullets tore right through Andy's stomach, liver, spleen, esophagus, and both of his lungs. He survived but was forced to wear a surgical corset for the rest of his life just to hold his organs in place. Hours later, Valerie turned herself into police, was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, and served 3 years in jail. Previous to the shooting, she founded an organization called SCUM, the Society for Cutting Up Men, where she envisioned a world without men. She believed that Warhol was trying to steal one of her play manuscripts when actually he had just misplaced it. For weeks prior to the shooting, she made calls and threats to his office repeatedly asking about the manuscript. The shooting only intensified Andy's fear and loathing of hospitals and doctors. Sadly, on February 21st of 1987, he suffered cardiac arrest following a gallbladder surgery, a procedure he delayed for several years because of his fear of hospitals.
Animals are scary.
Oh man!
Look what this man found in his basement.
Hotel room and immediately see this. You see that line under the door? What is this?
Ooh. Secret room?
Service. Smuggling zone? What is this?
Smuggling
This is
something.
This is a hotel. Let's stick it all the way in. What the fish that?
Do these look familiar to you?
Got Jason mash. What the hell? Never seen a freaking insect like that before. Had a freaking Jason mask on it. Is that legit? Gonna have to check that out. Edit. Call them out, man. If y'all see any edits, man, call them
Can
out.
you imagine giving your boyfriend one of your organs and then he ends up cheating on you? It's happened a while back, but I thought we'd talk about it because there's a lesson to be learned here. In 2015, Colleen Lay met this man who later became her boyfriend, and after dating for a little bit, he immediately told her about this kidney disease that he was struggling with. Obviously, she really cared about this guy and really wanted to help him, so she went to get tested to see if she was a kidney match with him. She said that seeing him with his condition and how much he was suffering made her want to really help him and see what she could do. Turns out that they were a perfect match, and the operation was scheduled a few months later, and she gave him her kidney. But only 7 months later, her boyfriend went to Vegas with a group of friends for a bachelor party, and he cheated on her. Now, Colleen was obviously heartbroken and she felt betrayed, but she really loved this guy and decided to give him another chance. But then 3 months later, this man broke up with her and completely ghosted her. I always thought the story was fake because how does someone have the audacity? Then he used the God card on her and said that if God wanted them to be together, then they would. And then he got married to another woman. Despite all this, Colleen said that she does not regret her decision and she would do it all over again.
This pastor is being accused of
person.
his own wife. This case is currently ongoing, but it's been so highly suggested, so this is what we know so far. On April 28th, Pastor John Paul Miller made the shocking announcement at the end of his church service that his wife, Micah, had unalived herself. He then asked everyone to leave quietly and not discuss his wife's death. Micah's family and friends do not believe this cause of death and have taken to social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. John Paul also wrote Micah's obituary, where he talked mostly about himself, not even Micah, who was the one that passed away. He also painted their marriage as like a perfect relationship, which is really odd considering that Micah filed for divorce and a restraining order against her husband only days before her passing. The weeks prior to Micah's passing, she was sharing on Facebook about abusive relationships and really just hinting that something wasn't right. A friend of Micah's has come out and confirmed that Micah told her that there was abuse in the marriage and also that church funds were being used for things not church related. And since, more friends and family of Micah have come out with similar accounts. Also been some speculation that John Paul was having an affair, a years-long affair with this woman that he's been seeing in the days before and the days after Micah's death. That woman's husband also passed away in a really suspicious way, but that's just online speculation for right now. The investigation is currently ongoing, so hopefully we have answers really soon. But in the meantime, make sure to leave all your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments for me.
This is Facts That Will Make Your Skin Crawl, Part 1. Up first, did you know that women can actually give birth after death? It's extremely rare, but it's called coffin birth. Up next, everybody has definitely heard of the 5-second rule and probably applied it in your life at least once.
Never.
But did you know in those 5 seconds, minor insects can still crawl on your food after you drop it on the floor, pick it up, and then eat it? Up next, if a black cat looks at you and then suddenly runs away, it means that something unusual is about to happen to you. So if this happened to you recently, then I recommend just staying in your room and not leaving. Finally, did you know that a cockroach can live 9 days without its head before it starves to death? This is absolutely crazy, and as weird as this sounds, I have to see it to believe it.
You don't do cockroaches around here, man, but I believe it. I believe it, man. Smashed one before, bro, and that thing was still moving. I'm like, what the hell is going on? That's an edit, man. We call them out. If y'all see any edits, man, y'all can call them out down below. So y'all know what to look out for.
This book was so disturbing and intense that I am literally legally not alive on this earth anymore.
They got him. He's dead.
And I mean that quite literally. My obituary is in this book. Aaron Beauregard once again was very kind enough to not only send me a free copy of the Obituaries Red Bromance, including another one of his latest novels, Life of Crime, which we're going to get to very soon, but the dude has legally ended my existence in the coolest and weirdest way possible.
And honestly, I'm not surprised. I always thought it was going to be my wife. 6th issue of the obituary series, Red Romance, with all different short stories written by C.B. Hunt, Aaron Beauregard, Christopher Triana, and also Daniel J. Volpe. Yes, my friends, we are back into the realm of splatterpunk because this is not for your average viewing pleasure. Or for some people, it might be. Ew. Aaron, dude, you are so fucking cool for this. So seriously, dude, thank you. And if y'all are absolutely dying to get the latest copy of the obituaries, you can pick up your very own at obitshor.com.
The man behind me is
I don't
the
need that
real-life
energy in my
human
life.
Dracula. His name is Tsutomu Miyazaki. He was born with a deformity that fused his wrists with his hands, so he was bullied a ton growing up. Then one day, later on in adulthood in 1988, something snapped in him. He started abducting little children, specifically little girls, and engaging in necrophilia. He would strangle his victims to death and then engage with their corpse. He would even go as far as removing some of their body parts like their hands and feet and even their teeth. One way that made him also very similar to Jeffrey Dahmer, he would pose these bodies in different ways and photograph them. On one of his last instances before he got caught, he drank the blood of a little girl. And then right after that, he ate her hand. One day he was at the playground trying to take pictures of more little kids and the father intervened and stopped him. So Mr. Dracula behind me fled on foot, naked, and was caught by the cops later on. That's when they discovered his disturbing collection of photos and body parts inside of his apartment. However, he blamed it on his alter ego named the Rat Man.
No.
They were not playing any games with this guy, they immediately sentenced him to death. The government hung him on June 17th of 2008. Let me know what you guys think about the Rat Man or Dracula in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Yeah, 2 alter egos, pure evil.
It has to start with this photo. This was the final picture found on the camera roll of Janine Oswald. Janine is the girl who's here on the right, and her friend Tess is on the left. Tess had dared Janine to go into the silo house. Hard to find a picture of this place, but it's basically off campus of Missouri State, and it's a very common thing that people would dare other people to go into this place, which Janine did. But she never came back out. So as the story goes, police eventually came, where they found her body completely mutilated inside the silo house. But specifically, they found her phone. Now, this was the final picture that was taken on that camera roll, but it's maybe not as sinister or paranormal as you might think. Police actually believe this was a diversion tactic. Think of it like a person or maybe a mannequin that's planted to distract you while somebody else comes out and does something worse. It's never found by the time police search the building, so it's become a haunting relic of the final moment before something horrific happened to her.
Man, Seekers, those truth and dares, bro, they can push it to the limit sometimes, man. If I seen a house like that, you dare me to go in there, I don't care what you say, I ain't going. It ain't worth it, man.
Chris Brown and Live Nation are being sued for $50 million after 4 concertgoers at his 11/11 tour were violently assaulted at one of his shows.
Whoa.
Following Brown's concert on July 19th at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas, 4 men, Larry Parker, Joseph Lewis, Charles Bush, and DeMarcus Powell, were invited into the VIP area of the arena. They grew tired of waiting to meet Chris Brown, so they ended up leaving. While leaving near the exit, Bush congratulated Brown on his set, and that's when one of Brown's crew allegedly yelled about them having argued. The men left the area, and they were allegedly followed by 7 to 10 of Brown's crew. When they tried to leave, they were attacked, and this attack was allegedly unprovoked. Brown and 3 others, quote, brutally and severely beat the 4 men. Brown allegedly told one of his accomplices to F Parker up. Parker was then attacked for over 10 minutes. Both the victims needed medical treatment, with Parker being hospitalized for his head injuries. The lawsuit also claims that Live Nation, Brown's concert promoter, continued their relationship with him despite his history of bad and violent conduct. The suit says Live Nation, quote, shamelessly profits and promotes Brown's The 11/11 tour and brought Brown to Texas for financial gain. The plaintiffs are asking the court for compensatory and punitive damages in excess of $50 million, in addition to actual damages that include pain and suffering, disfigurement, mental anguish, and past, present, and future medical expenses. This isn't the first time Chris Brown has faced legal issues like this. In 2009, he pleaded guilty to assaulting his then-girlfriend, Rihanna. He has faced several other physical and SA accusations, most recently in 2023.
This lawsuit demands Brown's unprovoked violence to be stopped. One of the co-defendants has denied his involvement, and the Fort Worth police are asking for anyone with any information about the attack that happened at the concert to come forward. This is still kind of lingering in the court system, so we will see where it goes and if Brown ends up settling or going to court. But in the meantime, he has continued on his tour.
If it was at the tour, wouldn't it be like cameras so you can see the angles of stuff if that was true? I don't know if they're hiding that footage or something, but for 50 million smackaroonies, that's a lot of money, man. Whew.
999, what is your emergency?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
Hello?
No, just been out for a few drinks. Everything alright?
You're currently calling 999. Hello?
Hmm?
Are you in danger in any way?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I see. I understand. Are you able to speak freely?
No, not right now. Sorry, Mum.
Okay. Where are you right now?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Can you see any street signs? Are you able to give me a location?
I don't know. There's an IKEA down here.
Okay.
Sorry, Mum. What were you saying?
That's a good line, Mark. Is there anything else that you can provide?
I think you left that at the house.
The house?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I understanding it right that they're taking you to their house? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Alright, Mum, I'm gonna have to let you go now, I think.
That's okay. Okay, we're still working on locating you, so don't worry, we'll be on our way.
Alright, I will. Thank you.
She stole $1.5 million in chicken wings and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. While some people think that this punishment is completely justified, others think that it's a bit too much. I think people feel bad because they look at this photo and realize that she is older and think that maybe she needs this food to eat. But who's really gonna eat $1.5 million in wings? So this is about 68-year-old Vera Liddell, and she worked for the school district, and her job was to place orders for various schools in Illinois. In July 2020, when COVID was at its peak, students began learning remotely, but the schools decided that they wanted to continue providing meals for the students. Vera thought that it would be a good idea to order case after case of chicken wings using the school district's account, and she did this for 2 years without anyone realizing. She ordered a total of 11,000 cases of chicken wings between 2020 and 2022, and rather than this food going to students, surveillance footage showed Vera picking up the wings in the school's cargo van, and then she took them home. And the only time the school noticed that this was going on was when they decided to do an audit and realized that they were $300,000 over their annual budget. It's not confirmed what Vera did with all these wings. I'm pretty sure she didn't eat them all, but it's assumed that she probably resold them and made profit. But the internet is pretty divided on this, and some people don't think it's a big deal that she stole $1.5 million in chicken wings, while others think that she should be punished because not only did she steal so much money, but she took resources away from students. But someone who does support this woman's actions and actually offered to pay the $1.5 million to get her out of prison was this man named Chris Jones, who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. He recently tweeted that he will pay the entire amount if they let her free. What do you guys think about this?
What do you guys think on that one, Seekers? That one is like a divided case. She stole wings. There was $1.5 million worth. Some people think, yeah, it's just wings, so it's not really that bad. But like I said, it took resources away from kids. But Chris Jones, man, is offering to pay the amount. So thoughts down below.
1 week ago, 3 little girls were murdered in a dance class by a teenager, and 10 others were injured. Of course, that teenager was arrested, but official sources never identified who this guy is exactly. There were several protests and riotings in the UK across several cities in the country, and there was a mosque that was destroyed and burned down as a form of revenge because of what happened in Southport. About 1 day later, after this incident, the government, the media, and the police have officially identified who the killer is. He's a teenager named Axel Hudakubana from Rwanda. That is a Christian. Not a Muslim, a Christian. Are you gonna burn down a church now that you know he's a Christian? Is that the natural response we as people should have? Official sources confirmed who's the person behind this misinformation. Let me tell you, this is how dangerous misinformation can be. It can lead you to do the wrong things. The person behind this misinformation is Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is an anti-Islam activist. Most of the biggest platform he has is on X, Twitter. That was where he tweeted that this guy, the murderer, was a Muslim. And you know, because of his contribution to the misinformation, these riots happened. Innocent people were injured, and a mosque was burned down. I'm not sure if it was one or more than one. To be honest, I don't even know the guy. I just heard of him today. And from an official news site that said Tommy Robinson was the main contributor to the misinformation that led to these riots. People are so gullible in the UK. Really. I mean this with no offense, but you guys are. And it's really bad.
This story truly infuriates me. This woman was forced to marry this man, and only a few weeks later, she was found murdered. This is about 20-year-old Rukia Hadari, who moved from Afghanistan to Australia with her family at a very young age. In 2019, Rukia was forced by her mother to marry 25-year-old Muhammad Ali only 2 weeks after her mom introduced them. Leading up to the wedding day in November, Rukia was going around telling her friends, teachers, and counselors that she did not want to go through with the wedding, but had no choice because her mom told her that she had to do it. Before their wedding day, Rukia and Mohammed had only seen each other a few times, and during the ceremony, it's clear that she does not look happy or excited at all. After their ceremony, Rukia moved across the country to live with Mohammed, leaving her friends and family behind, and things quickly took a turn. Only 6 weeks after their wedding, Rukia's life was savagely taken by Mohammed after he got upset that she was not cooking or cleaning for him. He even took this video moments before he took her life and sent it to her family to try to embarrass her. Mohammed slit her throat with a kitchen knife, and then he called her brother to let him know what he did, and then he turned himself in. But here's the twist. Not only was Mohammed charged with murder and sentenced to life in prison, Rukia's mother was also found guilty and was the first person in Australia to be convicted of causing a person to enter into a forced marriage.
This picture famously surfaced from 1941 because something looks very off about it. This guy, a lot of people cite this picture as proof of time travel because not only does he seemingly look very modern and out of place, but he also appears to be holding a camera that's very small, too small for any commercial grade camera of 1941. But let me explain why this is debunked. The modern t-shirt he's wearing, it's a logo for the Montreal Maroons, which was a hockey team from the 40s. The glasses were also available. They had protective side shields in the 40s too. But what about that camera? It's small enough to be a digital camera, but they did not have commercial grade cameras that were this small in the 40s. Incorrect. Kodak confirmed of a rare model of a small portable camera that was limited, but it was available by 1941, which makes this photo completely plausible.
Damn, debunked time travel just like that.
So I'm obsessed with the dark side of Disney. And did you know there's a horrible period of accidents at Disneyland that doesn't really get talked about a lot? It's been referred to as the Disney Dark Ages. It was from 1997 to 2003 when this guy, Paul Pressler, was the president of Disneyland. Paul basically decided they were no longer going to do scheduled maintenance on rides. They were only going to fix rides when they were broken. Did it save money? Sure. But this resulted in some of the worst accidents the park had ever seen. One of the worst being that of Brandon Zucker. In 2001, Brandon Zucker was on the Roger Rabbit ride, which was already having maintenance issues. An employee put Brandon on the wrong side of the car, and when he put the lap band down, it didn't close all the way. So at one point in the ride, Brandon tumbled out of his seat and was hit by an oncoming car. The car pinned him and dragged him down the track before anyone could do anything. Also, at the time, Disney employees were not allowed to call 911. They had to call park emergency services, who then called 911. So it took a while for anyone to come get Brandon. He did survive the accident, but he had brain damage so bad he was nonverbal and lost a lot of motor skills for the rest of his life. And eventually he passed away at 13 years old.
The FBI suspects a serial killer worked with a
insane.
trucker to find victims and then dispose of their bodies across state lines to confuse police. And that's what they think happened to Tammy Joseiki. This college student was driving from Evanston, Indiana to Grinnell, Iowa when her car broke down in Illinois. Yet her body was found 9 days later across I-44 in Missouri. She was last seen on August 23, 1992, standing near her broken down car at mile marker 83 on I-80. And there was a semi-truck with a rusty orange stripe parked near her car. It seems like he was trying to help her, but the FBI thinks he was waiting to grab her. Tammy's body was found on a rural stretch of I-44 in southwestern Missouri. She was wrapped in a red blanket and surrounded by duct tape. She'd been stabbed once in the arm and 7 times in a circle around her heart. According to the FBI, she'd also been essayed. Witnesses described the driver of the tractor trailer being a white male, 35 to 40, 6 feet tall, and with bushy dark hair. The trucker she was last seen alive with has not been identified. Illinois investigators think this could be a trucker by the name of Lonnie Beardrot. He matched the description at the time, and his trailer home is near where her body was found. And Tammy's body was found wrapped in a blanket with the Kenworth logo, and Lonnie drove a Kenworth truck. But to be fair, Kenworth is a large manufacturer. Lonnie Beardrot died, but he isn't the only suspect. Because of the interstate connection, this person could be from almost anywhere. Several other serial killers' names have been brought up in connection to Tammy's case, but as of right now, it's unsolved. Let me know if you want to hear more about highway serial killers and their possible victims. And follow if you like true crime.
Sick world we in, man. Probably have no freaking suspects because, like I said, that highway is so vast they can come from anywhere. Danger lurks around every corner nowadays. You have to be careful. Edit. Call them on like we see it, man. If it got spawny edits, comment down below.
Discoveries, Part 2. After a Chinese construction company caused a reservoir to sink 10 feet, a 600-year-old Buddha carving was uncovered. Underwater archaeologists even found evidence of an ancient temple beneath the 12-foot statue. This ancient sapphire ring is believed to have belonged to Caligula, the third emperor of Rome. It includes an engraved portrait of his fourth and final wife, Caesonia. Here's the before and after of an ancient Greek stadium found in modern-day Turkey. It was built around the 1st century AD and once held a capacity of 30,000 people. The Orkney hood was found in a Scottish peat bog in 1867. Despite its immaculate condition, the garment is around 1,500 years old. 1,600-year-old sling bullets from ancient Rome have been found with the words "Take that" inscribed on them. Often considered the Sistine Chapel of ancient Egypt, this is the 3,200-year-old tomb of Queen Nefertari. The paintings are said to be the best preserved and most detailed decorations of any Egyptian burial site by far.
This woman was caught putting Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew. This man from Missouri went to police after his home surveillance camera caught his wife, 47-year-old Michelle Peters, pouring Roundup, which is a chemical weed killer, into his favorite drink. He became a little suspicious in the beginning of May when he noticed that his Mountain Dew was tasting a little off. At first, he ignored the strange taste and continued to drink it, but a couple of weeks later, he began vomiting and having a sore throat. Then on June 12th, he reviewed surveillance footage in his garage where he kept his Mountain Dew in a fridge. And it shows his wife pouring the Roundup straight into the Mountain Dew bottle. Around that same time, he had told her that he was feeling sick, and all she said was that he probably had COVID and to stay away from the grandkids. Eventually, he went to police and Michelle was arrested, and at first her defense was that she mixed the Mountain Dew with the Roundup because she wanted to create this strong weed killer, and she had seen this on Pinterest. But eventually she admitted to everything, and she said she did it because she was mad at her husband for being unappreciative after she threw him a 50th birthday party. She then expressed that she regretted it and she should have just divorced him. She was charged with first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action. Imagine if you're...
Man, if y'all just in a relationship and it ain't working, just split up. Don't go to the extreme. Like what she did, man. Caught her a 4K as well. Pouring that in his Mountain Dew. People, man. It's like when they get upset, It makes them do the most craziest and bizarre things, man. Viewing these clips together with you guys, Seekers, blows my mind every time.
Grandparents just disappeared, like completely without a trace. Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Silas Dean. This is the haunting story of Charles and Catherine Romer. On April 8th of 1980, a wealthy elderly couple named Charles and Catherine check into a Holiday Inn right off I-95. They're just on their way home from a vacation. But to put this in context, this wasn't a usual choice for them. These were two very well-off people, so to choose a Holiday Inn, it wouldn't have been typical of them. But not long after checking into their room, the couple seemingly vanished. After 2 or 3 days, hotel management became concerned that they hadn't seen the couple leave their room, so they went to go check on them. This was only to find that their room had never been slept in. Inside the room were all of their clothes, their travel diary, and over $60,000 of Catherine's jewelry. Hotel staff then goes out to the parking lot and finds that their car is missing, but no one ever saw them leave. At the time, only one witness comes forward saying that they saw this car miles away at a restaurant circuit. But after they interviewed people at the restaurant, nobody remembered seeing this couple. Despite search efforts, they were never found after that night, and no one really knows what happened to them.
What the hell happened to the Romers, man? Just vanished?
In 1988, the entire classroom of students disappeared. Today, 40 years later, an elderly woman recounted the chilling truth. Sophie Reed arrived at the police station claiming she knew the truth behind the disappearance of an entire classroom of students in 1988. The police were astonished because this mystery had haunted the country for 40 years. Sophie began her account. It was a clear Tuesday in April 1988 when Mr. Hemington led his students into the woods for a geography lesson. Suddenly, at 3 o'clock as the bell chimed, Mr. Hemington and the children mysteriously vanished. The principal immediately alerted the police, and more officers and parents joined the search, but they found no trace of them. This event gradually evolved into an inexplicable mystery, becoming an unsolvable nightmare. Sophie then revealed a startling secret that left the police present in shock. Police officers thought that crimes like this only happened in movies. In the next part, I will show the interview with the missing teacher. So press the plus button and comment teacher for more details in part 2.
Damn, man, we're gonna have to find out part 2 for you guys, Seekers. We gotta figure out what happened to the mystery of those kids. Man. What do you guys think happened?
Let's talk about this couple who cheated on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and thought they got away with it.
You just want $1 million!
This all happened in 2001 when Charles Ingram was a contestant on the show, while his wife Diana and a man named Tequan Whitcock were in the audience helping him cheat the entire time. So how exactly did they notice that Charles was cheating? Well, throughout the entire show, the sound technician noticed a loud coughing coming from the audience at specific times after Charles spoke.
I don't think it's an animal. Megatron, mega, yeah. I don't think it's Megatron. I'm sure it's Google.
After
4K.
reviewing the footage, they noticed that the coughing came specifically from Tequan and Diana whenever Charles mentioned the right answer after the 4 options. They were able to catch a total of 19 coughs, which came from his wife and Tequan, which signaled the correct answers. But not only that, Charles' strategy throughout the game was very odd because he would state the 4 options out loud, and it was clear that he didn't know the answer, but somehow he always got it right. Then what producers found strange was that after Charles got every question right and won £1 million, he was seen arguing with his wife backstage. At the time Charles left the set, they began investigating and they did not hand over the money to him. All 3 of them were found guilty of conspiring to cheat, but till this day they've maintained their innocence, and Tequan still argues that his coughing was because he had allergies and it was all a coincidence. Ultimately, if Charles didn't cheat, he would have only won £1,000 that night.
This is a good reminder to...
You got caught in 4K, bro. Cheating. At a game show like that, man, you know there's cameras like probably angled everywhere, so there's no way you could get away with cheating like that. It's too much evidence. That's insane.
to double check every single nook and cranny in your house. Because in 2019, this couple came home after a week-long vacation to see that there was a stranger living in their home. And he had most likely been living there while they were also in the house. Also, if you like these kinds of stories, you'll like tonight's episode. Upon arriving home after a week away, Josh Campbell tried the front door of his house, but there was a stranger on the inside pulling it closed. That stranger was 26-year-old Ezekiel Zayas, and yes, this is a video he left on their personal computers. The two were able to call the police and eventually get him out of the house, but that's when they saw all of the terrifying stuff he had been up to in the home. He also left them videos on their computers that included incredibly personal information that they had only shared with each other, meaning that he had been listening to their conversations. But the worst part was the knives. Ezekiel had left notes in the house about surgeries that he wanted to perform on the family, like a hand transplant. And when the couple went into their bedroom, they saw that there were knives and other utensils all around the bed. It seemed like he was preparing to do some sort of operation on them. Frogging stories are absolutely terrifying, and I don't want to give too much away, but you might be spooked by tonight's episode.
Do you ever see a picture that
That's
just makes your stomach drop? This is a still from an alert that a woman named Alexis Randall got on her phone. It's from a security camera that was set up in her living room, but she's looking at this and she's thinking the same thing you are. She's like, what's wrong with the picture here? Why did the motion detector go off? But then look a bit closer, specifically at the bathroom door. This man was staring at the camera from the doorway. She spots this picture and she immediately panics and calls the police, but by the time they get there, this guy is gone. What really freaked her out even more is that when police got there, they found evidence that the bathroom window had been tampered with. Further security footage would show that the man had crawled through the bathroom window the night before and was hiding in the hallway bathroom all through the night, even while she was in the house. And if you guys are loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
How the hell? And nobody called him, man? He was just standing there the whole time? How do people begin to these houses and we don't be noticing, man?
This is one of the most terrifying urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. But in Canada, there was this legend that one night a bunch of people saw a bright blue light in the sky, and the next day an entire village of people disappeared. But it turns out that legend is rooted in something that really happened. This is coming from this week's episode. I have a whole series on urban legends that ended up being true, and it's a very scary listen. So in Canada in 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle was riding in the river in his canoe when he came to a village he had seen before. Except this time when he came upon it, it looked like everyone had left in a hurry. Food was still cooking, and a bunch of dogs were barking and super hungry as if they had been left behind. But the strangest part of all of this was in the middle of the community, there was a grave that had been disturbed. And that reminded the fur trapper of a very scary story he had heard. The legend of the Torn Rack, which was this demon that supposedly stalked the area. So he starts looking for someone who might know what happened to these people. They were a nomadic people. It didn't make any sense that they would have left all of their stuff behind. And that's when he finds a man in a hospital who was potentially part of the village. The man is so freaked out. He won't say anything at first, but eventually Joe gets him to talk, and he recognizes one word that the man says. Torn Rack, the name of the evil deity that was potentially in the area. The police basically don't believe any of this, but they do acknowledge that before the disappearance, they did see blue lights in the sky that no one has been able to figure out what they were. I get more into the theories of what may have happened in this episode, and I also talk a little bit more about other urban legends that ended up being true.
What the hell? What were those blue lights, man? They can't explain it. So that speaks from truth to what the villager said, right?
Terrifying cursed objects that will haunt your dreams, Part 1. Robert the Doll. According to legend, in the early 1900s, a wealthy American family known as the Ottos committed an unspeakable offense against their young maid from the Bahamas. In an act of retaliation, the maid gifted the young Otto boy, Eugene, a doll named Robert, which had been cursed by a voodoo priestess. In the following years, Eugene would become uncomfortably close to the doll, speaking to it as if it were a real person, and becoming violently angry with anyone who looked at it without his permission, claiming that they were being disrespectful to Robert. In addition, most of the Otto family friends stopped visiting, claiming to have seen the doll move by itself, or having heard it giggling late at night. Eventually, the Otto family sent the doll to a museum to get rid of it, where it remains to this day. Thousands of people have attributed tragedies that have occurred in their life to having visited Robert the doll. and it is said that if you view it without its permission, misfortune will find you as well. Tag a friend to pass the curse along and follow for more.
I believe Robert the doll. Is that curse real?
You know, or did you know a young lady by the name of Diane Ruiz?
Yes, that was my mom.
And is there anything that you would like for the jury to consider here today as it relates to this matter?
I wrote a letter.
Can you please be so kind?
My name is Zay Romero. I'm a 19-year-old college student going for my bachelor degree in graphic design. I'm Diane Ruiz's youngest child. I was only 14 years old when she passed. Just starting my freshman year of high school, she was so excited to see me grow up. And so proud of what I was growing into. She supported me in all my dreams and only tried to help and uplift me when taking on new risks and challenges. My father unfortunately passed away when I was only 11 years old. My mother was all I had left. I was barely 2 months into my first year of high school when she passed away. I was in a marching band, and the week prior, she was telling me how excited she was to go and watch me perform at that weekend's football game. She would have been her first time seeing me perform because that was...
When the greatest crusader king led just 500 knights and a few thousand foot soldiers against the 20,000 strong host of the great Sultan Saladin, he crushed the invading army and forced Saladin to flee for his life upon a camel, with the 16-year-old king having personally charged into the front lines despite having lost the use of his right arm to leprosy. When he was crowned king of Jerusalem on the 75th anniversary of its capture by the First Crusade, the 13-year-old was already an expert horseman with a keen intellect and a near encyclopedic knowledge of history. But when his tutor had realized that he never reacted to being pinched by his playmates, it had become clear the poor king would never bear the kingdom, nay. And so, in an act of humility, he recognized the Byzantine emperor as his overlord and even tried to give away his crown to the newly come crusader, Count Philip of Flanders. But when Philip refused and marched north with his army, the leper king was left to deal with Saladin on his own. But after the 16-year-old king marched out and defeated the Sultan's forces at the Battle of Montcassard, all attention turned to who would win the hand of his beautiful sister and inherit the kingdom, leading to bitter infighting among the crusaders. And with Saladin similarly seeking to consolidate his control over Muslim Syria, the two great enemies agreed to a 2-year truce. So the Sultan secretly sent letters to the Abbasid Caliph promising to unite all Islam and drive the crusaders from the Holy Land for good. Yet after the truce was broken early by a raid from the king's vassal Reynal in 1182, the king ordered him to return all his prisoners, but he refused. And so Saladin marched on the kingdom of Jerusalem with a fresh army, while at the same time in Constantinople, the pro-crusader Byzantine emperor was overthrown, and all the city's Latin inhabitants were slain. Yet now all on his own, outnumbered and so sick he had to be carried into battle, the leper king marched out and defeated the great Saladin's forces once again. But only 1 year later he became unable to blink and grew blind. And now in his deathbed had no choice but to appoint his sister's husband Guy as his regent. And although Guy was able to hold off another invasion by Saladin, he missed a crucial moment to destroy the enemy army completely, and the Sultan was once again allowed to escape. Now filled with fury, the king made a miraculous partial recovery and took command once again. And when Saladin descended upon the castle of Karek, the leper king led out his troops while being carried in a litter and saved his kingdom one last time. But shortly after turning 24, the great king passed away, and with his sister's husband Guy now back on the throne, Saladin marched 40,000 men against 20,000 crusaders at the Battle of Hattin and utterly annihilated their army, pillaging the kingdom and capturing the holy capital of Jerusalem. And despite the best efforts of Richard the Lionheart and later crusaders, the kingdom of Jerusalem would never again regain its former glory. When you're the only man who could have saved the crusader states from the sword of Saladin, they don't just call you the leper king, they call you King Baldwin IV.
Thanks to a deathbed confession, a nearly 24-year-old cold case was closed this week when the bodies of a missing girl and her mother were found. 10-year-old Natasha Alex Carter and her mother Susan disappeared from their home in Beckley, West Virginia in August 2000. But at first, police initially reported that Alex may have been abducted by her mother. In a press release from December 2021 about the case, the FBI Pittsburgh said, quote, "At the time of their disappearance, Susan Carter and Alex's father were having a custody dispute, and Alex moved in with her mother and mother's new husband," which it's not confirmed that it was actually her mother's new husband, but they moved in, and then not long after that, Susan and Alex disappeared. But while it was initially suspected as a parental abduction by Susan, after the two remained missing, an investigation into other possibilities ensued, but unfortunately, the case went cold. In 2021, the FBI reopened the cold case and started looking into the man Susan and Alex were living with, Larry Webb. Searches of his home were done in 2022 and 2023, and they found a bullet embedded in the wall of what was Alex's bedroom. The bullet was tested for DNA, and it confirmed that blood on it belonged to Alex. In October 2023, Larry Webb was indicted on first-degree murder charges for Alex's death, despite Alex and Susan's bodies never being found. Due to his deteriorating health, though, Webb was not arrested until April 12, 2024, but since then he was being held without bond. On Monday, he had a medical episode, after which, in a quote, come to Jesus moment on his deathbed, he confessed to authorities what he had done. Webb claimed that on August 8th, 2000, he had gotten into an argument with Susan over money. He said he was missing some cash and believed that she had taken it and spent it. The argument escalated and he shot her, and then he ended up shooting Alex so there would be no witnesses. Webb then wrapped their bodies in bed linens and placed them in the basement that night. Over the next 2 nights, he dug a shallow grave in the woods on his property, eventually burying them in his clothes, and then walking free for the next 20 years. On April 22nd, 2024, Larry Webb died at Mount Olive Correctional Complex, and 6 hours later, Susan and Alex's remains were found at his property in Beckley. Unfortunately, now that Webb is dead, he cannot be charged in connection to their deaths. At least now they have been found and can be properly laid to rest. Alex's father, Rick Lafferty, said after the discovery, quote, "It's kind of a sad day, but also a happy day because I can bring my baby home. Rest in peace, Alex and Susan."
Rest in peace. Here we go.
In 2010, a man named Sam Ballard was dared by his drunk friends to eat a slug. And so he did. Little did he know the slug gave him a parasite, which made him paralyzed and sick. He stayed this way for 8 years till 2018, when he was 28. The sickness became too much for him, and he died. Stop just putting stuff in your mouths! Stop!
Yeah, I ain't doing that there, bro.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 21. This photo shows an 8-month-old Zhao Bao who was lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation.
What the
If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000. But to this day, no one has ever made it through. The little girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was shot to death by her father, who then committed suicide. Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
Oh my god, goodness. Oh, a damn game. Really?
This is probably the worst secret code name for an undercover operation that I've ever heard. John Arbogast was a 55-year-old school teacher from Georgia. He was teaching students social studies at a middle school in Cobb County, but had a hideous secret obsession with indecent images of children. He had a baseball card shop, and obviously due to this and his day job, he worryingly had huge access to children on a daily basis. He was found to be online constantly trafficking child SA images and was involved in a huge P-ring. Now this caught the attention of the FBI, who created an undercover operation called Innocent Images. The operation spanned 2 years and started in 1993 after a 10-year-old boy vanished. This boy was George Bodinsky, and the undercover operation led to the arrest of 12 men across the world. But frustratingly, George's case remains unsolved.
What the
In September 1995, before he could be arrested, John closed his shop and went on the run. His case then appeared on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries in 1996. He was last seen in Las Vegas, Nevada, but luckily due to the broadcast, police received a tip. They were told he was working at a hotel in LA, and police were able to hunt him down and arrest him. They captured him on the 11th of July 1997. He was frustratingly released from prison just 1 year later.
How?
This pastor is being accused of unaliving his own wife. This case is currently ongoing, but it's been so highly suggested, so this is what we know so far. On April 28th, Pastor John Paul Miller made the shocking announcement at the end of his church service that his wife, Micah, had unalived herself. He then asked everyone to leave quietly and not discuss his wife's death. Micah's family and friends do not believe this cause of death and have taken to social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. John Paul also wrote Micah's obituary, where he talked mostly about himself, not even Micah, who was the one that passed away.
Weird.
He also painted their marriage as like a perfect relationship, which is really odd considering that Micah filed for divorce and a restraining order against her husband only days before her passing. In the weeks prior to Micah's passing, she was sharing on Facebook about abusive relationships and really just hinting that something wasn't right. A friend of Micah's has come out and confirmed that Micah told her that there was abuse in the marriage, and also that church funds were being used for things not church related. And since more friends and family of Micah have come out with similar accounts. Also been some speculation that John Paul was having an affair, a years-long affair with this woman that he's been seen in the days before and the days after Micah's death. That woman's husband also passed away in a really suspicious way, but that's just online speculation for right now. The investigation is currently ongoing, so hopefully we have answers really, really soon. But in the meantime, make sure to leave all your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments for me.
There's some facts that are oddly comforting and make me feel less bad about the world. It is statistically proven that people see you 20% more attractive than you see yourself. Your pet probably dreams about you. Like, all the time. Partially because you're like the only person they have ever interacted with. Squirrels accidentally plant thousands of trees every single year just by forgetting where they put their nuts. A group of pugs is called a grumble. That is the cutest thing I've ever heard. In Switzerland, it's considered animal abuse to only own one guinea pig. You have to own two. Guinea pigs get severely depressed when they're by themselves, so they need partners to be with. If you ever have a cat and they bring home a dead animal, it's because they think you suck at hunting. They want to make sure you're okay in eating, and they don't see you hunting. So they're like, where is this guy getting any nutrition? The ozone layer, the thing that we've obliterated over the past century, it's slowly healing itself. We're not doing anything. It's fixing itself.
The funniest true facts about short people.
I never even knew that, because we've been hearing a lot about, you know, the ozone layer, stuff like that, but to hear that it's actually healing itself, we probably going to have to dive deep into that one, see, because that's an interesting fact. You guys believe that?
Quickly, tag one of your shorter friends so they can see this video too. Now technically, being called short means you're between 5'3" and 5'7" inches tall. Now at this height, you can sometimes actually pass as a child, therefore getting cheaper prices. And you even get to ignore the caution low ceiling signs, which saves a lot of headaches. You sometimes even get to use tall people as human shields to protect from objects and even nature. And short people can probably fit over a month's worth of washing in one single load. Now the good news is, you will typically live longer according to research and studies. And being short actually means you have a reduced risk of getting cancer. And believe it or not, it's scientifically proven that information travels to your brain faster.
Really? To the short kings out there,
10
congratulations.
facts you didn't know that could save your life. If your house ever smells like fish for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an electrical fire. If you're in a foreign country and you need to call for help, but you don't know the emergency number, call 112 and it'll automatically connect you to the nearest helpline. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's actually moving towards you. If you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn on a light. The spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. Lying flat on your back is the best way to survive a falling elevator. If your hair ever stands up, duck and cover because you're about to be struck by lightning. If you ever fall off the edge onto the tracks, don't try and crawl back up. There's a crawl space built to go underneath in case this happens. If a deer runs across the road, it's better to hit it than swerve into the ditch. But if it's a moose, then it's better to swerve into the ditch, because hitting a moose is like hitting a brick wall. Even if you have no service, you can still dial 911. In an emergency, your phone will connect to the nearest tower. If you ever get kidnapped into the back of a vehicle, disconnect the brake light wires so the cops will pull them over. Then kick on the door to let them know that you're there.
We need those facts. Write them down.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
Oh man, that is disgusting. Never do that. Never. Tap in with us, man. Y'all gonna learn some things.
Interesting facts you never knew. The last one is shocking. When penguins can't find love, they waddle off to die alone. The movie theaters actually has cameras inside every theater. So just know, if you were getting freaky, Bob in your local theater probably saw you. You're nasty. Your true love is the first person you see when you click share, slide all the way down, and click more. You wake up before you die in your dreams because your mind can't comprehend death. Want to know what your day is going to be like tomorrow? Type tomorrow in the comment section and let your autocorrect finish the sentence for you. Tastes like your mama's booty. People actually see you 20% more attractive than you think you are. A cafe in Japan hires paralyzed people to control robot servers. This is so that they can still have income and make a living. Before we get to the last fact, can you support me by clicking the follow button for more interesting facts every day? Arnold Schwarzenegger said in many interviews that O.J. Simpson was always supposed to play the Terminator. The main reason he stopped being cast was because James Cameron didn't think he was believable as a killer.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 20. Before she married Ronald, Nancy Reagan was known around Hollywood for her oral abilities, therefore making her a certified throat goat. Queen Victoria really loved doing the deed with her husband, Prince Albert. Like, really loved doing it. To the point where it was audible through doors and walls several times daily. After the Founding Fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, they went frat boy mode and racked up a pretty impressive bar tab. A bottle of whiskey, 2 bottles of wine, and 7 to 10 beers per Founding Father. George Washington in particular was known as the 3-bottle man, meaning he could drink 3 entire fifths of whiskey without blacking out. The guy who invented sea monkeys was a white supremacist, so if you ever bought this bullshit, you indirectly contributed to the Klan.
This is how rare your
Who got some sea monkeys when they were younger, man? The more you know. And exposing us to new facts every day. Never in a million years would have guessed that.
Ideas compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of the population have what is known as Morton's toe, making you extremely rare if you have this. This is where your second toe is longer than your big toe. What's even more rare is only 5% of people's tongues are tied. This is literally where your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth, impacting eating and speech. Only 1% of people have unbreakable bones. And if you have this, you are literally considered a superhuman. It's a mutation that makes your bones several times denser than the average human. Which means someone with this mutation could walk away from a fucking car crash completely fine. Only 10% of the population suffer from eczema. Most get it when they're a child. It's bullshit! Whereas others can get it further down the line. 50% of the population can fit their fists in their mouth. That's still pretty rare. If anyone can actually do this, please let me know. Can you tickle yourself? If so, then congratulations, you're a part of the rare 7% of the population who can actually do this. And finally, only 16% of people can make a roaring noise in their head, flexing a muscle in their jaw. Damn. Elon!
I'm gonna need y'all to tell me down below, man. Can y'all do any of those things that he just described? It's like your body can do more things than I ever would have even imagined. It's kind of crazy how like complex your body is, and the different things it can do, and how it can differ from different people. Insane.
Which of these facts is the hardest to believe? It is impossible to hum while holding your nose. If you want to know how your breath smells, lick your wrist and smell it. The word hello was actually invented because nobody knew how to start a telephone conversation. If you Google the phrase, do a barrel roll, the page will do a clockwise spin. Go to it, come back and let me know if it worked. Your eyes actually sees objects upside down. It is your brain that flips it back up. Your foot is exactly as long as the distance between your wrist and the crook of your elbow. Your phone knows your best friend. It is the second person that appears when you click share, and then more. There are 7 to 10 people on earth who look identical to you. What more?
I think it has to be the second fact.
Facts, it could save your life one day. If you're ever somewhere really high, like a mountain, and feel your hair standing up randomly, don't take any pictures and run as fast as you can to cover. You're about to get hit by a lightning strike. Just like these 2 teens that got hit moments after this picture was taken. If a stranger gets in your car with a weapon and asks you to drive them somewhere, most likely you will have your seatbelt on, but they won't. So drive fast enough into something like a lamppost. Not only will the accident cause a crowd, but it will also injure the stranger, giving you enough time to run away. And don't worry about your damaged car, your insurance will take care of it. And if you're at the beach and you suddenly see the ocean recede, don't think twice and get to high ground. You're most likely gonna get hit by a tsunami. Better safe than sorry. And finally, if you ever see a bouncing ball on the road while driving, slow down safely and look around, because the ball is usually followed by a small child trying to get it back.
Okay, those facts, another one, we gotta write those down. Always trying to learn some knowledge from these videos. trying to incorporate it in our everyday life.
That each other exist.
What, don't know they exist?
Sharks have no fucking clue that camels exist. And
oh boy, do I have a story for you. So like fun fact, actually mildly disturbing fact. Camels are one of those animals that have no business swimming but do it anyway, and they're unnecessarily good at it. And an animal whose home address is a desert being able to pull up on you in the ocean is one of the biggest you I do what I want moves from nature.
It really
There's
is.
a type of dromedary camel called Corai that are so comfortable with water that they'll cross rivers and even shallow stretches of the ocean as they look for food. And that's because these overgrown water donkeys love eating mangroves on islands offshore, so much that they'll travel for hours to get it. There's actually a pretty good chance that at least one shark has seen one of these sand-loving hump jockeys out in the ocean. He told his friends. They did not believe it. Moral of this video. If you're ever on a boat off the coast of a country like Algeria, you better be prepared to say what's up to a camel.
This is why you should never spend the night on Niku Island. In 1937, while on her flight around the world, Amelia Earhart mysteriously vanished over Howland Island in the Pacific Ocean. Despite an enormous search, she was never found. 3 years after her disappearance, a scientist discovered an incomplete skeleton on this tiny, uninhabited island called Niku Island that wasn't too far from Howland Island. It looked like whoever's bones these were, they had been ripped limb from limb. But when the bones were examined, they determined they were not Amelia Earhart's. But in 2017, a forensic anthropologist re-examined the bones and determined they were almost definitely Amelia's. So scientists went to Niku Island and they found freckle cream, something Amelia was famous for using. So the working theory is she crash-landed on Niku Island and she fell asleep somewhere on the beach. Then, after smelling her blood, hundreds of 3-foot-wide coconut crabs came out of their burrows, swarmed her, and ate her.
Damn. Coconut crabs ate a human being? What the hell? You see how they had to re-examine the bones? Because like I said, it's in the details. If it's something messes up the first time, just looking at it again. They confirmed it, man. That's really weird. Coconut crabs? Damn, I didn't even know he was capable of doing something like that. The more you know. The hell is
Unless
that?
you want your own Twitter hashtag, never do what he did. Trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video so you never end up in this situation. You, my friend, have just caught death itself. The giant hornet. This hornet will come after you in the morning, and by the evening it will own your house, your family, and even your mortgage. Why am I so concerned by this person's well-being? Well, let's start with the fact that these have photographic memories, and you caught it in a plastic see-through cup. You have the desire to meet your ancestors. Now, a sting from one of these is about as nasty as it looks, described as hot metal being poured into your body. And not only that, they can spray venom too. They don't just have to sting you. And before anyone thinks, no, this isn't a wasp that had a couple protein shakes. I know what these hornets do for fun. They raid beehives, and they completely Thanos everything inside of that nest.
Damn.
They can fly up to 25 miles per hour. He can only run 27. To pray for him in the comments. Yoey!
Those are some different type of hornets, man.
This is why you should never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot. Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car. Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says, the Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago.
What the So where was she at? Was that like a scary story or something? Damn, motels ain't it. Always go to a hotel. It ain't worth it. And a hotel in Bali? Look at those prices. reservations? What the hell happened? Why is it got abandoned? And Bali too? Something had to go down that we don't know about. Looks like they left in a hurry. All the snacks are still on the table. Wind powered? Very creepy.
Psychology tricks that I know work because I use them, part 6. If you're ever nervous about something, chew gum. It'll trick your brain into thinking you're relaxed because we're wired to think that we're safe while we're eating. Don't chew gum in the middle of an interview, an audition, or like a date or something, but use it beforehand to calm your nerves. You can tell a lot about somebody by their feet. If you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody and they're facing you, congratulations, they want to be there. But if they're turned away, like they're not, their feet aren't facing you, they want to leave, they want this conversation to end right now. Stop letting people interrupt you. It's making you seem weak. Your words matter. So if somebody tries to interrupt you, don't stop talking. Don't even try to talk louder. Talk in the same pace, volume, and tone that you were before. They're going to feel awkward and shut the fuck up.
Hey.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were not animated. Most of them were just actors and costumes. This photo shows Ismail Hadi, a homeless man from Yemen known for feeding stray dogs. One morning he was found dead, with the dogs refusing to leave his side. A new device in South Africa called Rapex resembles a tube with barbs inside that is inserted like a tampon to prevent sexual assault. Any man who attempts an unconsentful act will be impaled by its teeth and sent to the ER. This 7-year-old girl is the only person in the world with diagnosed chromosome 6 deletion, meaning that she doesn't feel pain, hunger, or the need to sleep. In 2016, she was hit by a car, dragged nearly 100 feet, and felt absolutely nothing.
How is something like that even possible, man? It's because of our chromosomes? Could you imagine if everybody had that? Nobody would feel pain, the need to sleep. Kind of be like invincible. It's crazy to think about. Do you guys want that?
A YouTuber broke into the Bohemian Grove 2 weeks ago and captured everything in HD. This video is like the first of its kind I've ever seen. He got a ton of footage, but let me show you what he got of the owl.
Mine. And that's the owl statue. Holy fuck. Dude, I'm actually here. This is insane. No way. Bohemian Grove. I made it. Yeah. This is the owl statue. What the fuck? No way. This is fucking cool. Oh, that's hollow. They need to fill this pond up. They do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the owl. A bunch of ferns have grown on it.
Yeah, that's like the power station.
Now that is absolutely insane. For those of you that don't know, the Bohemian Grove is speculated to be some kind of conspiracy theory of where the elite go to sacrifice people. They hold their weird rituals there, and that's how they stay in power. The real definition is that it is an invite-only elite club. Only the biggest names in the world can come here. Nobody really knows what's going on in there. They just kind of light an owl and go there. Seeing all this stuff up close and everything is absolutely insane. The fact that the owl is hollow blew my mind. Seeing everything overgrown and abandoned makes me think they moved to another location for their elite invite-only club. Probably somewhere underground at this point, to be honest, so it's away from the public eye. The person that filmed this on YouTube is Dancer1. Definitely go check out his video. It's half an hour long and it is amazing. He really snuck in there with a kayak and a cast iron skillet paddling.
Damn.
The dude is built different. Let me know what you guys think about the Bohemian Grove. Maybe something weird is going on there. Some kind of sacrifice. Who knows?
See, other YouTubers, I think, go there too. That's actually insane. Bohemian Grove. And like I said, it definitely looked abandoned. They, like I said, going off his prediction, they probably, like I said, moved it to a different place because it got, I guess, too known to the public. They wanted to switch it up. YouTube, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. Greatly appreciate that support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, hit that post notification bell, man, so we can grow our community together. I greatly appreciate the support you guys have been showing in these past couple of videos. I know, man, we could grow our community into something special. That's why I do daily uploads for you guys. You guys can catch in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.